Welcome back to this Thursday edition of Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Glad to take your phone calls, 888-589-8840. And again, I mean, I'm disappointed and actually, frankly, a little bit alarmed at our Republican senators. And I don't know if it's just because they haven't heard from very many of their constituents. You know, we encourage you here on this network to call your senators. It's not too late to do it. You can call your senators today and urge them to vote against ENDA. It's going to be voted on. I don't know if it's happened yet or not, but it's sometime today. I think tonight the vote is going to take place. And you can still call your senators. The number there is 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121. You can get you can get your senators, both your senators at that number. I called both of my senators' offices early in the week and call them and urge them to vote against ENDA. Now, they've got 57 sponsors, so this thing is going to pass. But I would at least like to see somebody try to go to the defense of Christian businessmen, somebody in the GOP, some Republican senator who's got businessmen in his state. Remember, these senators represent entire states. So you know that there are a lot of constituents who are going to be harmed by this bill if it goes into effect. Their hiring and firing decisions are going to be impacted. They could be risking a career-ending, a business-ending lawsuit every time a guy wearing a dress comes in the door to apply for a job. If you don't give that man a job who's wearing a dress and high heels and earrings and lipstick, if you don't give him a job, he's going to sue you. And you'll have all of these gay activist groups that are going to be behind it to sue you into oblivion. And every single Christian businessman, every day he opens the door of his business, is going to be at risk of a lawsuit that could put him completely out of business because this bill has no regard for, no respect for religious liberty and the First Amendment rights of Christian businessmen. So this is an enormously damaging piece of legislation. It completely compromises religious liberty, compromises the First Amendment. It's a threat to privacy rights in the workplace, especially for women. Your daughters, your wives, your sisters are going to be working in a place where they would have no guarantee of privacy, even in the women's bathroom at the place that they work. And if an employer did try to provide some kind of privacy protections, he could get sued within an inch of his life. He could be put out of business if he tries to protect the privacy rights of the female employees. So this is a very dangerous bill. And you know what? I explained to BuzzFeed today when they interviewed me, look, she was asking, why are these people silent? I said, I really don't know. I mean, I don't know why these senators have gone to ground on this thing, but I would guess that it's because they have been intimidated into silence by the bullies and the bigots of Big Gay. And she said, well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by the bullies and bigots of Big Gay? And I said, well, they know that if they come out against this thing, if they come out in defense of the First Amendment, they come out in defense of religious liberty, they come out against ENDA, that they are going to run the risk of being demonized, of being vilified, of being attacked, of being the subject of vitriol and innuendo and false allegations and outright hatred. And I think they've just been intimidated into silence. They've been bullied into keeping their opinions to themselves. But anyway, we'll see. Maybe things will be a little bit different when we actually get to the debate and the vote tonight. Well, let's go to the phones. Let's begin by talking to Terry in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Terry, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hello, Brian. Thanks again for your show. I'm a big fan.
Thank you very much.
I want to let me ask something real quick. By the way, did you get the picture of Sacagawea that I sent to you?
Well, refresh my memory. Yeah.
Anyway, I did email it to you.
Okay, good.
I wanted to say it's really frustrating to wrap my mind around what you've been talking about. It's frustrating to me as a veteran, Brian, who fought and risked my life for all America stands for, to get my mind around what you were saying about God-given authority, to someone who's ignoring every Christian principle we cherish, and to just lie down and let him destroy our country without a fight. What do we pray for? Like when you're praying, what do you pray for when you pray for Obama? Christians, we're supposed to be concerned for everybody's salvation. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But do we let this one godless traitor of a president take away all our freedoms just for the sake of his salvation? He's assumed the role of king. Is that what God instituted him as the role of king, even though he didn't earn it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am very frustrated about that because, I mean, I'm ready to fight. And I know you're not supposed to, I mean, it's taboo to talk about armed rebellion, but this guy has done everything wrong, lied to, ignored all the laws that apply to him, but he wants us to respect the law.
Yeah. Well, and I know it's enormously frustrating, Terry. I think it's enormously frustrating to all of us because, we can see what he's doing. I mean, it seems to any neutral observer, I don't know how you could be a neutral, objective observer and think that we have a president who has any sort of profound respect for the Constitution or even for the law.
Yep.
And it's hard even to find in him a trace of love or admiration or affection for this country. Dinesh D'Souza wrote that book called The Roots of Obama's Rage, and it's his thesis, and it seems to me kind of a likely thesis if you observe him in action, that he seems to have this profound anger that's directed toward America. And it apparently goes back to the fact that his father grew up in a colonial country. Kenya was a part of the British Empire, and he had this visceral antipathy toward white colonizers kind of inculcated into him, by his father. So it's hard to see, a real reverence or a passion or a respect or a love. You and I, Terry, we know this is not a perfect country, but we love it. You were willing to bleed and die for this country because you love it, despite its imperfections and its flaws. I love my wife. I love my children. They're not without flaws. My wife maybe, but my children not. But I love them. I love them unconditionally. I would bleed and die for them. I would bleed and die for my wife, even though I know that they're not perfect. So you don't have to pretend that the object of your affection is perfect in order to love it. But I just don't see that with this president. And I think you're right, Terry. We do not, even the founding fathers, and I don't know what this would look like. And I'm kind of going a little bit, kind of off our direct conversation here.
Sure.
But remember the founding fathers, they did not launch an armed insurrection against the crown either. Now, a lot of people think they did, but they didn't. They met in Congress assembled. What are we going to do? We're under the tyranny of a king who is trying to disarm us. He's overtaxing us. He's weighing us down with all these government regulations. What are we going to do? And our elected representatives voted to secede from the crown. They voted to establish and declare their own independence. So that was an act that was taken, not with the force of arms, but taken by the elected representatives of the people gathering together to decide what to do with this very, very severe problem. And I still think that's the direction we need to go, Terry, to look for some kind of resolution to try to resolve this through the ballot box rather than through bullets. What happened with our founding fathers is they seceded from England, and then England sent the mightiest army in the world to try to suppress them, to try to take back control of the United States, and they couldn't do it. But at that point, this is important to understand, we were not fighting an armed insurrection. We were fighting a war of self-defense. We had just declared our sovereignty. We had just declared our independence, and now we were fighting to protect it. It wasn't a war of aggression. It was a war of self-defense. We were protecting our national sovereignty. So I'm still hopeful, Terry, that we can find some way out of this morass through our elected representatives. And I share your frustration. I share your concern. We obviously need to continue to make this a matter of prayer. We obviously need to get good people in Washington, D.C., who've got enough courage and backbone to kind of stand up against what is going on here. And let's hope and pray that we can resolve this without bloodshed.
Well, that's a good answer, Brian. I appreciate it. I just think that we ought to be able to fight against his ignoring the law and the Constitution. That's what bothers me so much.
Well, and see, that's the thing is that, there are tools, there are mechanisms in our Constitution, Terry, to deal with that. I mean, it's there. That's the power of impeachment. I mean, that was put in there specifically by the founding fathers so that we did not have to endure a chief executive who would ignore constitutional restraints.
Sure. How bad does it have to get?
Yeah.
How bad does it have to be to get to that point?
Well, and that's the question. But that's what it's there for. It's people don't realize what a safety valve that is for the American people and how that insulates us and protects us from violence. Because if you don't have the safety valve of impeachment, and I will acknowledge that I'm my wife is concerned about this. I'm concerned about this. We were concerned about this with President Bush. There's so much energy out there that you don't want anybody to assassinate the President of the United States. I don't want anybody to commit an act of violence against him. I don't want the President of the United States assassinated by anybody. That's not how we resolve these problems. But that's what the power of impeachment enabled Congress to do. We could resolve a serious problem like that without having to resort to bloodshed. They were given the political authority, the constitutional authority, to remove from office a man who was ignoring his sworn oath to uphold the Constitution. So that, that safety valve is still there. Whether we will have a sufficient number of legislators that would be willing to use that as a remedy, that's the question we don't have an answer to. And right now, it looks like the answer is probably no. Terry, give you the last word before we're done.
I thank you for your answer. I know you're speaking sense. It's just the frustration of the fact that we're losing things that we fought for and had our friends die for. That's what it is. So just thank you for letting me vent about it.
All right, Terry, listen, I share your frustration. All of us do. Billy Graham said, look, we've gone a long way down the wrong road. There isn't anybody in this listening audience that doesn't agree with that. We grieve over what's happening to our country. We want something better. We want something different for our country. And by God's grace, we want to believe that is still possible.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, Terry, listen, I appreciate it. You bet. So let's continue to pray. As Billy Graham said, let's repent, commit ourselves to God, and let's become engaged. One way you can do it today is call your senator, 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121, and urge them in the strongest possible terms. Be polite, but be direct, be firm. Urge your senators, both of them, vote against ENDA, and urge them to debate against ENDA. Somebody has got to stand up for the First Amendment and religious liberty here. So far, no Republican senator has done it. Urge them not to vote against it just, but to debate against it as well. Back after the news.